Watching along, you saw me fix up, restore, preserve, whatever you want to call it, clean up. I'd probably call it a cleanup. I wouldn't really call it a restoration, and paint it. And I didn't even really clean all the rust off. I cleaned it up. So I cleaned up this vise. It's a Prentiss vise from, I believe, the 1920s. If you know more information about it, definitely let me know. It's kind of hard to find some literature on it. So I got it mounted. It's clearly mounted to the bench. One of the nice things about this vise, compared to my smaller Colombian, which this is the one that I had on it before, which this isn't like a small vise by any means, but as far as vices go, I guess it is. I mean, that little homeowner's size vise has served me very well for a long time. That was my grandfather's. That I cleaned up a long time ago. But upgraded to something more heavy duty, which I'm very excited about. One of the downsides to that little vise is when you loosen the lockdown screw, you can only pivot it so far. This one, you can pivot it all the way around, which is pretty cool. So I like that. How handy is it in all of the scenarios? I don't know. Kind of fun. But one of the other downsides with this big of a vise is if I'm trying to do something really tiny or delicate, which I don't really do that much, but maybe. If I'm working on something really tiny, I don't want to crush it in these big jaws. So I happen to have, I've got this kind of little guy. I don't really want to permanently mount this anywhere. But it would still be kind of fun to use it from time to time. You know, if I'm fixing a little piece of jewelry or something for my wife or my daughter, or a little toy or something for one of my kids, just use this little thing for it. It'd be handy for it. So, my thoughts are fabricating a way to clamp this vise in this vise. And I just so happen to have some scrap Doug fir laying around. And it is just the right width for these jaws. It's just a hair over, but for all intents and purposes, it's just the right width. So I plan on just cutting a piece that's long enough, maybe channeling out around the slide there, and then mounting this little guy to the top. So if you want to see how that comes out, keep watching. I think I'll start with figuring out how tall I really need it. The other thing that I was thinking of doing is also, if you've noticed behind the bench, I've got a French cleat system. I was thinking about mounting a French cleat on the back, so afterwards, when I'm not using this, I can just take it, kind of pluck it on the wall, and it'll kind of just live there. It'll kind of be a nice fun little way to display the tiny vise too. And I don't think it needs to go all the way below the dynamic jaw, so maybe we'll call it like right. Yeah, we'll call it there, so that way it can sit on top of those little angled supports and not interfere with anything. That's the plan. We'll see how it goes. So I am by no means any kind of master woodworker. I kind of putter around and have fun in the shop here, but I have not made anything, any high quality furniture, just mostly shop furniture. So if you're an actual carpenter, bear with me. So yes, I do have other saws that I can cut this with. You know, I've got a chop saw, table saw, hand saws. But this does not need to be that precise, and this is what I want to use. So that's what I'm using. We're also going to notch out around it, so we're going to use the table or the bandsaw also for that. So. There we go. Now I know this isn't anything fancy, but we're gonna have it look a little nicer, so I'm just gonna knock some of the corners off it. Also help make it a little bit more durable too. This is just a Stanley number 60.5. Now that I cleaned up a little bit, it's been sitting around the shop long enough that it needs another cleaning up. This is one of my son's favorite little things to use in the shop. Obviously supervised, but he loves just making shavings with it. So that's why there's some some wood chips just stuck in there. Cutting that end grain's not exactly easy. But the reason I'm doing it is the bottom part of this little guy here isn't a perfect 90. So I'm trying to just chamfer that edge so this sits in there well. I think the next thing to do is maybe mark out where we want to channel out for the slide. Alright, so we've got our block of wood. It's roughly centered up in those jaws. I'm just gonna mark. I can leave enough room in here for a little bit of slop so it doesn't doesn't fit super tight over this. So that's roughly our width. Right, so with this in here, and that's just going to be screwed onto the back here. Looks like we can drop that or cut that channel. We'll say 1.5 inches. I'll go 1.25 inches. It can stick up a little further. All right, so go 1.25 inches deep. Okay, so we'll just extend those lines that we marked for the width of that slide up there. And we only wanted to go up 1.25 inches, so we'll set this here. Yes, I know a marking knife would be more accurate. Yeah, I've got one sitting around somewhere. This will be just fine for what we're doing. Alright, so that is our notch that we're going to cut out. There we go. Now let's test it in the vise. Nice, I like it. Drops in, sits flat. We can tighten it down. Our French cleat piece fits behind it nicely, so we'll just kind of keep that flush with the top. Just measure roughly how long we want it. I don't want it to extend past the back of the thing, so I'll just mark it about there, and I'll cut that now. I'm just gonna get the little random orbital sander out and just sand this up quick. Alright, we are sanded. Should we mount the French cleat or the vise first? Now, let's see what screws I have for the vise. A little drawer of hand-me-down hardware. Always handy. It's a nice little brass screw. We'll use that guy. Looks like a matching one. Not quite as shiny, but that's alright. We won't discriminate. Does it fit in here nicely? It does. It fits in there very nicely. I think we found our candidates. We'll just touch them up quick on the wire wheel just to get them looking even. And then we'll let them patina up again on their own. Changed my mind. I touched this up on sandpaper really quickly. These are brass plated, not solid brass. So we're not using these ones. I think I have some new brass, solid brass ones. Alright, found some other hardware. From a previous project at some point. You can see it was solid brass. 1.5 inches. Looks like the head of these fit in here nicely. So a little bit shiny, but they'll I'm sure they'll darken up. And it looks like they're going to be perfect length for this little project. So awesome. We'll use those. And I think for the little screw on the back here, I'm going to use this guy. It's not brass, but it's old, so it'll be fine. And it's also going to be hidden like the whole time, so no one's going to see it. It'll blend in. And I guess we'll start with taking the vise apart so we can just use the static part. Sanding, I got everything all dusty. I think it is probably wise, especially with those being solid brass. I don't want to. Another project that I use these on, the pilot holes that I drilled were not nearly small enough. And a few of them I twisted the heads right off. I'm just trying to drive them in. I don't want to do that. So we're going to drill some appropriately sized pilot holes in hopes of not ruining those brass screws, because I've only got a handful of them left. And it's like 3 in the morning, so I'm not going to the hardware store right now. So I want to finish this. So, alright, that right there looks probably about right. Yeah, I'll try that. What was that? 9/64. Sure. The other thing I need to be careful of is to not completely drill through. Don't completely drill through the board. So I'm going to go very slow. Probably should hook it up on the drill press, use a depth stop, all that good stuff. We're not doing any of that. So alright. Stack the odds in our favor here. And we're going to stop just shy of this drill plunging all the way through. So. daylight on the other side. Good. Alright, pilot holes are drilled. That's pretty solid as it is. Yeah, I like the idea of this one going on there. We'll find another small drill bit and just do a quick pilot hole. I should have drilled this. Marked it and drilled it prior to, but we'll see if that's enough not to split the wood. I hope. Alright, cool. We've got all of our screws installed on there. Yeah, the front ones probably could have gone just a little bit lower down, but like I said, this is going to be super light duty. These should age and look cool as they get some patina. If you're not familiar with how a French cleat works, gets mounted a net orientation on the back of whatever tool holder you have, tool thing, whatever you want to fix to your surface. And this edge is like, this is my hand to be the wall, and they just lock together like that. So it's a really modular storage system. There are probably thousands of videos, French cleat storage online. So if you're curious, go look them up. I did and clearly wanted to do it for my shop, so it's fun. All right, put one screw in here, get it looking straight, then we'll put the other in. For mounting these on the back here, just using drywall screws, just standard drywall screws. Shop projects, best friend. As far as where you want to mount them, you're looking like, oh yeah, I'll just throw it right in the center. Probably don't want to do that, depending on where you cut your, depending on where you want to cut your bevel. You probably don't want to throw it right in the center. You want to throw it like in the center of where your flat part is. So we will drill the other hole. Alright, I like it. Final assembly. This massive project. Fun. Alright, cool. Guess we'll test it out and I'll show you it on the wall too. So you see we've got the French cleat wall there, kind of the axe rack. You just kind of take that and store it there. I guess that's one of the things that I hadn't thought about, is that sticks out pretty far, but it just fits. I got lucky. The other thing that I didn't take into account is this is just long enough to span 2 cleats, which is good because it doesn't wobble. Very secure. So yeah, I like it. If you like it too, think it's a good idea, let me know. So I apologize. I somehow lost the footage of me throwing oil on it. I just used my my axe oil, which is the blend of turpentine, pine tar, and boiled linseed oil. It gives a little bit of color, especially on that Doug fir, which I think looks good. Really happy with how it came out. I think it works well on the vise. And you just take that, drop it in, tighten the vise down. Then you have a smaller vise that you can do more delicate stuff with. So yeah, I think that's cool. I like it. And with the French cleat being on the back, you can take it and store it on the rack. Yeah, so I'm very happy with how it came out. I think that dark, that kind of like slightly darker finish that I used that axe oil looks nice on the Doug fir. I think the brass screws look good with it. Yeah, kind of a simple, quick little project, but very functional. So now I've got a light duty, kind of more fine, delicate use vise that I can clamp and put in the jaws of the big Prentiss. So, is it necessary? No, but kind of a fun way to display the little vise too. So, thanks for watching, everyone.